So I've never seen that video. That's another Michael Bay music video. I've never seen that music video. And I want to take a moment to talk about this music video. What in the hell? So the plane as a decision is one of the most Michael Bay things I've ever seen. Why did like the kid stole a plane and crashed? Like I don't what are you talking about? Who does that, right? Like was it's just so he can have explosions. It's that's the sole purpose of it was for the explosions. And overall, like I get the idea of the video. The video kind of gets to what you're thinking for what that video should be. Kind of. But so the airplane thing threw me through a loop. And I get it, he crashed and burned. I know I'll never learn why any boy should die so young. I think that's another reason why it's weird, is like actually I'm familiar with a plane crash that had a teenage boy who was the pilot. I believe his dad was the passenger. So it's not like it's something I've never heard of. Typically when you think of someone dying in a plane crash as a pilot, they're not like a young kid, right? So I would have thought that you could still have an explosion with this motorcycle car wreck sort of situation.
And if life is just a highway, then the soul is just a car. And I'm kissing the rearview mirror, up here closer than they are.
The plane, right? And you keep seeing the plane flying across the sky. Here's the thing. If you use a motorcycle or a car, it's so easy to like they make multiple of cars, right? Also, when was that plane from? No, hang on, we'll come back to that. They make multiple of cars, right? And so, like you see, I'm not good with cars. You see a black convertible, and for a second you think, oh my god, Charlie's still alive or whoever, and you run over and it's some other person, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. That's kind of an emotional impact thing. You see planes flying. Is it like every time he sees a plane he thinks of him? I get that for sure, but maybe if he had like a different kind of plane flying across and then like saw shadows of that previous plane, that is like I could see that trying to convey that message, but that's not what was happening in there. Again, plane is such a weird decision. Where like whose plane is that? Does he like they show him as little boys pretending to be pilots. I'm sure a lot of little boys pretend to be pilots, especially if they have access to possibly defunct planes and goggles. But like where did they get this plane? Has this kid had flying lessons? Like what it's so distracting to me. Okay, fine. It is what it is. Fine. So I'm like, okay, push that out of your mind, let it go. And then it's the dad thing and the abusive father. And it was like, and then he hit me again and again and again.
Because he hit me again and again and again.
But he's like hitting him with baseballs, which I feel diminishes the abusive stuff. Like, I get maybe not wanting to show a kid getting beat by his dad, and I'm going to explain a couple ways that we could have gotten around that exact thing. But I think it's weird that the dad is just throwing baseballs at his kid. And also, why doesn't the kid just move out of the way? I'm not saying it's not abusive if you throw baseballs at a kid. Absolutely can be abusive to throw baseballs at a kid. But like, that is not my first thought when I think of an abusive parent. And maybe that's because that's not the kind of thing I experience. Maybe it's way more common than I think, right? Parents walking around, buckets full of baseballs that with their wicker furniture that they brought to a field for some reason. What? But anyway, they pull out their wicker chair, grab their bucket. I know there was no bucket, but you get the idea. Bucket full of baseballs and just start throwing them at their kid and being like, you suck. I mean, use your baseball bat. Hit balls away, right? Like, I don't understand. Is maybe his dad's just bad at pitching, right? Again, not exactly what, like, we can't, like, his dad's bad at pitching. This is the scenario now. His dad's bad at pitching. Keeps being his kid, right? And now he's like mad and frustrated. Oh, I'm sorry, son. I'm so bad at this. Let me try again. And he's just getting more and more frustrated. And sometimes when a person gets frustrated, they keep repeating the thing, trying to like do better, make it better, instead of taking a break, calm it down, or coming back at it. And so, while still abusive, you shouldn't throw baseballs at a kid. Like, that was not his intent, was to be abusive. But if you're throwing baseballs at your kid as an intent to be abusive, what's happened? Like, he just keeps baseballs in his pockets, just pockets full of baseballs, just in case he's like, you're not doing what I told you to. Starts pitching them at him. Doesn't make any sense. So, anyway, I get it. We don't want to show an adult hitting a child probably in a music video. I think we've done it I think it's doable. Like, I don't think it's something that the FCC would like flip out about. I think, it's probably, again, not like the best thing to see. It's not like what everyone wants to see, but if that's what you're conveying, I think you can get away with it. But let's say you're like, I don't want to show this guy making contact with his son, like hitting him. They had the shadow part, and I thought the shadow part would be where they like make it seem like he's hitting, right? Perhaps swinging a belt, perhaps a shadow of the kid so that you can do abusive things, but there's no contact. Like you have the option there. You can also show the kid with some bruises during the time that he's with the other little kid too. Would have been a good part, right? Like you see the kid with bruises as he's hanging out with his friend and you recognize it, but you're not necessarily like you're waiting to see what happens. And then as you find out that dad's abusive, suddenly those make sense. How is Michael Bay a big director based on the beginnings of this sort of stuff, right? Like, what are you doing? Why the airplane? Why the baseballs? The last part, the part with the girl, it's fine, right? I think he did. I mean, Michael Bay loves hot ladies. We all love hot ladies, and he knows how to use them. Undisputed. I don't think there's any dispute on that. That is Michael Bay's thing. Explosions, hot ladies. He's got it. That was actually pretty good. I would have directed the scene that goes with and her body rising like an angel from the tomb. I would have directed that a little bit differently, but overall it's fine. It is what it is. I think they used the same. So it looks to me like a 30-year-old woman and a 13-year-old kid in the car. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's a different actor, but it looked the same and it made me super uncomfortable. Get an older actor. Get a bigger, larger size actor so you can see if it is a different person, that it's definitely a different person. He's grown up. Aside from those things, overall, I like the vibe of the video. I know what he's going for because I'm very familiar with the song. I like what he tried to do. I don't like the shadows of the dad in the chair behind him. I don't think that that works either. I think because the thing that was so traumatizing was the abusive, violent thing, right? If you're not going to have him remembering him striking him, you could have like him in the shadows of him just yelling. Yeah, I mean, it's what pulls him back. Like that would be something that stuck with him. I don't think the song is supposed to indicate that the thing that he remembers of his abusive dad is that his dad used to sit in the chair and read a paper. What are you doing, Michael Bay? I know it's been 30 years, but come on now. There's some things we could have done differently to make that better. We didn't need an airplane. I know you wanted an airplane, but we didn't need an airplane. Is it like a radio flyer homage or something? I don't know. Anyway, that is my rant about the video objects in the rearview mirror. Thanks for watching.